to the hi everyone, welcome to the growth groups conversation today. We have a lot of the growth team members join me. I'm Hila, I'm the director of growth product at GitLab. So let's get to some of the questions that we have. I think team, you have the first question. Do we want to voice it over?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. My first question was, I just love the updates that you've been making to the growth direction page. And I was curious, like, what are the most, notable updates that you think have been made?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I know a lot of the growth team members have contributed. So I invite you to look through the growth direction page and share any feedback if you are interested. I think one most important update is that we laid out our 1-year plan for growth team with 3 focus area or 3 themes. The first one is improve customer retention. As we all know, because of COVID-19 and some of the economic turmoils it caused, it is very important for us to hold on to the customers we already have. We already acquired them, we already built a relationship, we don't want to lose them. So growth team actually will focus a lot in this area. As you know, we have a retention team, we have expansion team, we have fulfillment team. A lot of those teams focus are actually to serve existing customer better. So some of the initiatives or changes will be focused on our make existing customer renewal, upsell, expand experience as smooth as possible, as well as really dig deeper into the data, understand how are they doing, how we can capture some leading indicators that maybe their behavior pattern has been changing. For example, Mike and the team developed something called the MVC health score that can allow us to monitor their usage pattern as long as there's anything changed so that we can know that early. That's just one example. We are also working on understand what are some leading indicators that can drive better retention as well. So that is one big focus area. The next one will be maximize new customer conversion. We have sales team, we have marketing team, and growth team plays a role there as well. How we can make sure the newer customers we acquire, we maximize conversion, meaning if we spend some money in marketing spending or sales activity, we want that money to be worth of it, like especially during current economic situation as well. Like we want to make sure the customer LTV is higher than the customer acquisition cost, and also the time it takes for us to get back that money is as short as possible as well. So growth team can play a role. Some of our initiatives around building a new customer onboarding flow, meaning anyone joining GitLab, how we can make sure they understand how to use it, they see the value of it as quickly as possible, as well as doing some qualitative and quantitative research to understand why some customers convert. They sign up for a trial, they sign up for a paid plan, while some other customers, they don't. By collecting that answer via survey and compare and contrast, we're able to hopefully find some reasons that we can address. And the third one will be building the infrastructure and foundation for data-driven growth. Growth team is really, data is just such an important ingredient for growth and for overall business. Growth team actually has been working very closely with analytics team. Telemetry is part of growth as well. So how we can better capture data, analyze data, and surface a lot of insights to not only product team, but also the broader GitLab team. That's just one area we are very excited to work on as well. I think those are the three most important themes we laid out. And another quick call out is if you click into the link, there is a chart where we talk about how growth team can collaborate with and support a lot of other functional teams. For example, how we can support sales team, how we can support with marketing, customer success, and product. That's what we want to be. We want to be a team that can really support and help a lot of other teams to maximize their results. And together we help our customer, we help GitLab business as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Hila. Alper, I think you have the next one.
My question is, we have a lot of different metrics, and actually they all look great to track the performance of the teams, etc. In some future, shall we have only one or few metrics, or shall we consolidate them or deprecate some of them or use them for different purposes? What is the like? We have North Star metrics, ARR, IACV, and also, and that question comes from actually the CEO. He was thinking about the same thing. I'm in the telemetry team, so kind of related.
Yeah, Alper, that's an awesome question. I think that's the $1 million question. Is a hard one. In general, my view is that the understanding your business is a journey, and generating metrics is actually part of that journey. Initially, you probably only have one or two. You just look at revenue, very kind of end result and summarized metric. And you begin to realize that in order to change revenue, you need to monitor something else. Just directly looking at revenue every day wouldn't help you actually change revenue, because that's a result of many things else happened already. So you begin to think of other KPIs or performance indicators that's maybe a little bit more granular and also a little bit earlier than revenue. And there is a period of time you have a lot of metrics defined, because you know so many things can impact your ultimate goal, which is revenue. It can become a little bit overwhelming. So my view is that it's a journey. Defining metrics is actually part of understanding the business, and really begin with something simple and that grow into a huge amount of metric. And then the next step is actually really understand the connections between them and really distill maybe 100 metrics into a few, maybe into like 10 or 20, basically. I linked a page from the group conversation. That's an exercise actually growth team has been going through. It's called building a growth model. So the idea is that how we can basically have a North Star metric, which is our ARR, but then how we can break that into sub metrics that each of the growth team, for example, acquisition team, conversion team, they have their individual metric that directly contributes to the ARR, which is our North Star. And then in that page, there's actually a link to another deck, which each of the growth team break down their North Star metric into more. For example, conversion team, their metric is that after sign up for 24 hours, how many people convert to a paid plan. But actually that has many things go into it as well. So you can say this structure of, we have one big thing on the top, and then we digest that into many layers. And I think as long as we begin to form that connections and relationship, we won't feel like we have 100 metrics. We will feel we have a system. We have a constellation of metrics that will help us understand how our business works. I think it's a pretty theoretical answer. I don't know whether that's what you want. If not, let me know.
I'd also like to add, we do want to, at a minimum, consolidate our terminology. We're going to have, I think it's called product performance indicator page. There'll be a KPI section and then a performance indicator section. The KPI section are the metrics that we review monthly at the product organization level with Sid and Paul. And then underneath that, we'll have a performance indicator section. These won't get reviewed monthly with Sid and Paul, but they are performance indicators that each of the groups that roll up to the product team are looking at. So I totally agree with Hila that there's going to, for a while, probably be a lot of metrics because we have a lot of teams and we want them to be focused on things that we think will roll up to higher level impact. But we do want to reduce confusion with terminology, have it all in one place, have it handbook first. We got a little bit of work to do to get there, but expect to have all the stuff on one page soon.
Alper, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I think the next question is from Jamie.
Hello. My
Hi.
question is about how does product and marketing balance experimentation and ideas, because oftentimes experimentation or growth or conversion falls onto marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sam, do you want to take it first?
Yeah, sure. So just at a high level, the way that I think about it is balancing the abilities of all of the teams and who's, really kind of like the domain expert. So when it comes to making updates in the product, that may more naturally fall on to the product and engineering teams. But when it comes to something where marketing is more of a domain expert, we absolutely want to partner with them and leverage everybody in marketing's great abilities, and vice versa. So, I think we love getting ideas from other teams as well for things that we can do in the product, because by no means do we know every experiment or every idea that would best suit our customers. We're just the people executing on the product side, at least. So I see it as really kind of a balancing act. I think some companies where you don't have a SaaS application, they are more likely to have the growth team fall within marketing, because it's really that marketing team that's at the top of the funnel that's generating leads for the business.
Mm-hmm.
But as us having a freemium version of our software, a lot of those initiatives fall into the product and engineering space for us to make those iterations.
How do you work with marketing? Like, take the trials, for example. Like, does marketing, are they actively involved with the experiments
Yes.
there? Or?
Yeah, so Danielle is a new member of the marketing team, and she's going to be leading growth on the marketing team. So we're going to partner a lot with her moving forward.
Cool.
But there's a more specific example that I think we can apply here too. Is there's an issue that we're working on right now to sort of empower the marketing team to be able to create automated email campaigns as someone signs up to sort of to help us improve our key product indicators. So for example, we know like there's a large abandoned cart percentage, right? And we'd like marketing's help in putting together a campaign to bring people back to an active cart to complete their purchase. And so we're working really super closely with them to say, how do you want these emails to be sent? What events do you need to make sure that you have all the information you need? And then, we'll put together all of the things in the product that need to be done to empower them to do that. And they'll sort of test the content continuously to make
Mm-hmm.
sure it's maximizing the metric that we all want to make sure is it should be affected here.
Do we send out those emails today for abandoned
No.
carts?
No. And so that's part of what we're doing is trying to, on the product side,
Mm-hmm.
put together the infrastructure for them. So we're kind of empowering each other in a lot of ways, like working together on a lot of these things. So, when you say marketing is in charge of this, it's really just like, I don't know, it's sort of semantics here because they're still in charge. We're just sort of empowering them with in-product things that need to be done inside the product to set up the infrastructure to empower them to do that.
Is that why we're talking about moving the entire database to Marketo?
Possibly. I don't know. That would probably be a separate conversation. We can follow up offline on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jamie, just kind of high level, if you think about marketing and growth, from property perspective, marketing team owns the marketing side. They are like they do more of the change there. But after that, if customers start to sign up process either for a free account or a trial or a paid, the flow is mostly owned by the growth team and conversion and acquisition team. And one thing we are also working on is we begin to realize that the reporting between marketing, sales, and growth is not very well kind of consolidated in a way, right? It doesn't make sense because we ultimately want the same goal. However, we have if different team have different metrics. Marketing team mostly focused on MQL. Sales team, they want sales, which is the ultimate goal. Growth team look at conversion rate. They ultimately should be the same thing. However, if each team is looking at metrics differently, we may not kind of make the most aligned decision. So one effort I'm working with analytics team, Derek especially is helping with this, is trying to understand the process, but also build some dashboard that can capture this entire funnel, so every team can share the same view. I think that's an effort. And as Sam and Jensen mentioned that we used to have sync ups with marketing team whenever there are changes involve trials, but now with Daniel joining, we want to make that more comprehensive. So we will begin to set up a more communication sync between the two teams.
Are the reports that are different, are they motivated by, I don't know anything about how people are bonused, but typically like people report, like they care about the things that they are bonused on. So like, let's say that MQLs as an example is that where the difference comes in on where each team is focused, or why are they reporting differently?
Yeah, I don't know all the detail. I don't think, especially marketing, I don't, it's just my assumption. I don't think it's because they get paid differently. Their metric is MQL. That's just how it's defined. I think MQL best capture their efforts to bring leads to sales team, basically. They don't want to just bring leads or visitors to the website. They want to make sure those are valuable leads, and MQL basically adds some rating algorithm to make sure those are better. But we also need to capture information, contact information of those leads, which kind of naturally leaning more towards trials, because if you just download the instance or do some other activities, those information are not captured. So the way the KPI is defined, and also which makes sense, but it naturally kind of favors certain flow or certain area. So I think in order to really make sure everyone is on the same page, we want to understand the process and define that process using the same language and metrics and KPIs.
If it's okay, and we can skip to Scott. I was curious, you were saying about self-managed downloads. We don't have that information. How will we get that information?
So
for free trials on self-managed.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with Dara trying to understand how a lot of the informations are captured. We can talk more offline, but my understanding is that if they are a free account downloading a self-managed version, we don't have a good way to get their contact information unless they sign up for a trial. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Scott, you have next one.
Yeah, I know we've done some designs that look great for a revamp to the pricing page. We did a couple of tests. I think one of them, despite despite our opinions, underperformed, which I know Jensen's talking a little bit about. I just wanted to know where we are on version 2 and how that's going.
Sure. So I was just adding that. Sorry, my computer decided to do an hour-long update as I started up this morning. So I'm on mobile, so it's hard to answer your question quickly. But the gist of it is we ran V1. The control outperformed the test in V1, and part of that is because we saw that the majority of visits after people went to the pricing page was to the feature comparison page. And so we wanted to keep them on the pricing page, thinking that keeping them on that pricing page would basically help increase conversion and not distracting them away from that page. That wasn't the case. What we found was like that feature comparison page is actually quite distracting. So V2 took that out. It took the feature comparison out of that page. And basically what happened is that the test sort of barely outperformed the control. It wasn't super apparent. And so we actually have a V2 that further simplifies, or sorry, V3 that further simplifies that page. That is going to get launched today and be run for just a little bit. The reason why there was a delay between V2 and V3 is that we use LaunchDarkly and we ran out of, what would the tier that we pay for. So we just had to wait a week in order to run the third test. So we're actively going to run that third test, further simplifying that page, because what we think is just removing any and all distraction from that page and just using it to communicate the value in each tier is likely to increase conversion over the control. So that's the final test will be done, and we should have the results within this week or next week.
Thanks for iterating on that. This is a reminder of why we test, because that first one looked great. I would have thought it was a home run. So thanks for testing to make sure we get it right.
And it did look great. The problem was that the summary feature comparison made it seem like you don't gain a lot of features if you pay for GitLab. So it's important to express the value of GitLab, not just that it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our biggest learning is one, always test, and two, sometimes the more information is actually not ideal. Like the more information you shared, trying to keep everything there actually can be a distraction. That's why we're almost like reverse engineer back to the more simpler version. And then we can compare really the new value proposition on the new page versus the older page without the distraction of a lot of other information, whether that can improve or not. But we're not giving up on this. Like we will keep iterating. I think the learning from the customer research is still valuable. So we need to make that work. It's just the current design maybe is not a home run we hoped the first time. Are there any other questions or thoughts and comments from the team? If not, I think that's all for today. Thank you everyone for joining the growth group conversation.
Thank you, growth section.